Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book review. And this is a book that I have been waiting for to be created for quite some time. And the book that I'm talking about is Funny Boy by Jessica Max Stein. Funny Boy is the biography of Muppeteer Richard Hunt. He is featured on the cover. He's known for more supporting but incredibly memorable Muppets. On The Muppet Show, his signature character was Scooter, but he also did Dr. Bunsen Honeydew's assistant Beaker. He did the gigantic Sweetums. He did Janice from the Electric Mayhem. And he also did the Muppetry for Statler, the clean-shaven old man on the balcony. You would think Statler and Waldorf would be left to right, but the way that they sit on the balcony, it's Waldorf-Statler. On Sesame Street, he did the Muppetry for Biff's partner Sully, the Forgetful Cowboy, appropriately named Forgetful Jones. He was Placido Flamingo, the opera-singing bird. He was Gladys the cow. And he also did Don Music, the composer that often had trouble coming up with lyrics to his song and would resort to banging his head on the piano when things weren't going right. On Fraggle Rock, he was a producer for the show. He found it to be very fulfilling, and he performed as Junior Gorg. He did the voice and the mechanics while someone else actually was in the suit. He had several other roles on other projects from beginning with The Great Christmas Caper in 1970 until his death in 1992. This covers everything that you would want to know about him. This has become the monumental biography in my mind, and it's going to take a while for anybody to outdo this if they ever have the opportunity to do so. But Stein worked on this for 15 years, and it was actually shortlisted by the Biographers International Organization for the Hazel Rowley Prize in 2016. She was working on this so long that she actually had interviews with his mom, Jane, who had passed a few years after, and Jerry Nelson, who was a fellow Muppeteer who passed in 2012. But this starts with the beginning of his life. He was born in 1951. His family was strictly in show business. He had an older sister, and he was the second of five. He had a middle child was a sister, he had a brother, and his youngest sibling was a sister. But being in show business, he was always into singing and performing. His father worked for networks. They were always supportive of one another, and Richard Hunt, having been openly gay, they always had that idea, but he was able to be himself more so than in some families where they would be scolded or put down for being a certain way. But Richard Hunt's challenges came from the general society in which he lived, and the fact that he wanted most to be loved and appreciated. He was a people pleaser, and I think that the way that Stein writes about him, he is so relatable in the mental state of mind. The only difference is he is by all means an extrovert. I am clearly an introvert. This information is laid out very well. There are aspects when she talks about each family member and his fellow colleagues, she'll write their date of birth in parentheses, which is similar to what you'll find on Wikipedia. And she did rely on Muppet Wiki for some of the information, and I think to some extent it was appropriate. However, it was more than just that. She put everything into putting this together. She interviewed family members, friends, colleagues. It was she really went all in as far as primary sources are concerned, and utilized secondary sources when necessary. And I think she does an excellent job talking about his point of view, the way that he saw different projects, what he thought about, what he liked, what he disliked, what he thought was overrated, underrated, his favorite characters, the characters he couldn't stand, the one that he could relate to the most, which they depicted the original 5, and you could see it in the Muppet movie as to which one reflected them the most. Jim Henson was Kermit, Frank Oz was Fozzie, Jerry Nelson was Floyd from the Electric Mayhem, Dave Goles was Gonzo, and Richard Hunt was Scooter. And you saw that being reflected in, as Kermit makes his journey in the Muppet movie, how each of them, one by one, join the group. But it examines how Richard Hunt had wanted to be an actor. You can actually see him in the film Trading Places. He played the role of Wilson, and the way that dramatic scene took place that he was involved in, with the whole stock market going haywire, he was upset that they thought it was great, but he felt that wasn't his greatest effort. But he also really liked. He did say that Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, he and Dave Goles agreed that it was one of their best projects. Fraggle Rock, to him, he felt that was the ultimate gem. There was, I think, the Muppet Show was where they had their ability to blossom. Sesame Street was something that he had his on moments and his off moments. There were characters that he really liked and appreciated, those that he really couldn't stand, and then those that he began to grow fond of. But then there were the projects that didn't last. Like, he liked Little Muppet Monsters, which was supposed to be a sister show to Muppet Babies. But they were going to go, it was supposed to be back-to-back, but Little Muppet Monsters flopped, and then they just did an hour-long of Muppet Babies. He also liked The Ghost of Fafner Hall. He portrayed the wild impresario. That only lasted one season, but he thought that was a hidden gem as well. On the topic of Muppet Babies, he couldn't stand the show. He hated that kind of setup. He also didn't like the idea that Jim Henson was considering selling his franchise to Disney. He personally wasn't too fond of performing female characters. there are those ideas that you would think that because he was gay, that he would be he'd be more flexible with wanting to be with his willingness of performing more feminine characters rather than somebody who is straight and macho. But the way he saw it was that it was just he was gay on the principle that he was sexually attracted to men. And I love the stories where where they spoke about his the fact that whenever they went out to eat, he clearly insisted on paying, and he made sure that he would do so, and that if anybody tried, it was a struggle. Then you have it does cover relationships that he had. His most prominent was with Nelson Byrd, who sadly died from AIDS, and it led Richard Hunt to become concerned about his own health, and it led to, and he would not be around much longer himself, which it was heartbreaking, because my first introduction to Richard Hunt was when I was looking up information about the Muppet Show. I knew about Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Kevin Clash, Carol Spinney, but the other mainstays, such as Jerry Nelson, Dave Goles, and Richard Hunt, I looked him up on Internet Movie Database, and I was surprised, just like Stein, that he had died a while back, and he was very young at the time. He was only 40 when he died. And it was 7 weeks before I was born, too. And on the Internet Movie Database, it said that he was known as the Muppeteer without a face, because he was known more for his Muppets, the Muppets that he performed, rather than he himself. And on the topic of his abilities, he always put his best into the characters. Even if he didn't really care to do female Muppets, he did a great job with them. I know especially the way that he did Janice was quite something. But there were characters that he could not stand, such as Aristotle, who was a blind Muppet, and then there was Elmo, who he was the original Elmo as Elmo, because before Elmo was first an Anything Muppet, and then Richard Hunt was the first one to perform him as Elmo, but he sounded like a caveman, and it reflected another major character of his, which he performed with Jerry Nelson, and that was the Two-Headed Monster. Jerry Nelson did the left, and Richard Hunt did the right. He was so infuriated with Elmo, though, that he just tossed him at Kevin Clash, and Kevin Clash would make history by turning Elmo into the most renowned Sesame Street character on the show. Kevin Clash had other problems, though. One of the downsides about this piece is that there is no mention of a Sesame Street character of his by the name of Sonny Friendly. Sonny Friendly was supposed to be the alternate game show host to Jim Henson's Guy Smiley. And it got to a point where Jim Henson and Frank Oz would not be able to perform as much. And so you had another game show host in Richard Hunt's Sonny Friendly. And I felt that he was a prominent character that at least deserved some mention. He did the traveling game show. He was I was introduced to him from in the direct-to-video, the Alphabet game. That came out in 1987. And I had that one. It's one of my favorites. But it was also a reflection of his role as a mentor, where he would be the one to vet out all of the newcomers. He put on a very harsh and brutal front, but that was more of a test to see what their abilities were, and at that point he would really warm up to them and get them situated onto the show. But the one of his proteges was David Rudman, whom, to me, every David Rudman character sounds the same. They sound like Baby Bear without the speech impediment, or like Humphrey, or you get that you can definitely tell if a character is being done by David Rudman, except Flaubert. And even though Flaubert, you kind of realized, Chicago the Lion was one that you really didn't see as a Rudman character. But back to their connection, David Rudman succeeded Richard Hunt as Sonny Friendly. And Richard Hunt did it better, but David Rudman still, for the first bit, did a good job. But I'm digressing. There were some slight technicalities within this piece, but nothing that prevented it from me saying that this was brilliant. Probably not mentioning Sonny Friendly was the greatest concern, and I think that this is definitely worth reading when it comes to wanting to learn more about the Muppet franchise, learning about Richard Hunt's role as a Muppeteer, an aspiring actor and singer, a mentor, an ambassador, just a very important person. And I think that those that want to learn more about members of those that are part of the LGBTQ plus community should definitely look into Richard Hunt and the impact that he made on the entertainment industry. I gave this a solid 5 stars. This book is brilliant. I'm so glad I got it. And I highly encourage anybody that wants to learn more about the Muppet franchise, or just learn more about an incredible human being, I encourage them to pick this up and read this. This book mainly serves as a biography of who Richard Hunt was, how he came to prominence, and what he did to make the world a better place. And I really believe that he did make this world a better place. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more videos from this channel. I really hope that you check out this book. I was engaged throughout, and I really wanted to make sure that I was immersing myself, and only doing so when I had the proper mindset to do so, and oftentimes I did. Thank you, and for now, keep reading.